Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, Josh?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, not a problem. I'm glad to be able to talk to you and talk about some amazingly heavy, crushing music you got here with Eye of the Destroyer and the Wolf You Feed, which is coming out on Friday. I mean, it's great to be able to see that there is new music coming from Eye of the Destroyer in 2020, and this is such a great soundtrack for the world that we're going through right now.
Well, I do appreciate that, and I have to agree with you. I mean, we're going through some dark times right now, and I think this really captures that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everything from the cover to the very first notes to the very last notes. I mean, just like everything combined in there. I mean, it's a great collection of songs that you got to do, and it's great to see in 2020 that you were able to go out and have this recorded.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I had to do a lot of things a little bit differently in terms of this record. I had to do a lot of stuff in-house and record it. I'm lucky enough and fortunate enough to have a really great friend in Keegan Okazaki, who's based out of Toronto, Canada, who does a lot of my mixing and my mastering for me. And he just, it was a team effort with him. I had a lot of quirky things that I wanted to do in terms of production with vocals and things like that, but he's always great to work with. And we found ourselves with a decent amount of free time, as you could imagine. So it worked out really well.
Oh, totally. And the end result, again, it's awesome to see what you've done here. I mean, just a little over 18 minutes, but those 18 minutes feel so full between all 5 tracks on there. And it was great to see that you were able to do so much by yourself, but of course, being able to get that outside help with mixing and mastering, but with you being able to do so much with this EP, it's so cool to see that.
Well, I really appreciate that. And that was kind of one of the things that I wanted to do. I wanted to go in the full length direction, but I also wanted to make sure that if I was going to release a collection of songs, and I wanted it to be meaningful, and I didn't want to have any filler. I wanted to have 5 tracks that really, for lack of a better word, just beat the shit out of you. I really just wanted that. I just wanted to have that in your face aggression that I thought I needed to have given the time frame, and I'm glad that I achieved that. I really am, and I'm glad that that's the way that it comes off to you, and that you weren't bored at all in the 18 minutes that we provided for you.
Oh, totally. And yeah, I mean, it just so packed, filled to the brim with great riffs and musicality that's going on there. And it's, just being able to see everything that you're doing on this album too. It's just like, that's just incredible to see as well too. And the fact that you do have those outside sources to be able to bring out what you do and make it work out so well. I mean, we need some good music here in 2020, and thankfully we've gotten a lot of good music here in 2020, but we can never get enough of it. And something like this, again, like I said in the beginning, is something that we really need right now. And I think once people are able to check it out on Friday, they're going to agree with me.
Well, I really appreciate that. I think that it really does kind of really express a very angry, dark situation in my life, and it kind of put some closure in place for me. Kind of the death of an old self and things like that. And I was able to do pretty much all the instrumentation on the record, and write all the lyrics, and do all that stuff, and perform the drums and the guitars. And it really just meant a lot to me. It was a huge release for me, and I had a ball doing it. I really did. Like, I really enjoyed every aspect of it, and it was cleansing for me in so many ways.
Yeah, I can absolutely imagine so. I mean, being able to have that great cathartic feeling, being able to purge out those feelings, obviously being able to go back in your life and talk about those feelings, but also being able to put that aggression to music as well, too. I mean, when you have a lot of dark moments that happen in your life and you're able to find a good, healthy way to be able to cope with that and being able to get that out of your system so you can move on, music is a great way to be able to do that. I mean, whether you're bashing the drums, whether you're coming up with some of the heaviest tuning that you can where it makes sense, or just writing out those purging feelings that you want to be able to get out there and just show that aggression off.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's what music has always been for me. It's what's always drawn me to it, especially the more aggressive stuff, the death metal, the hardcore. It's always been a huge release for me, and it's always been like a home for that. You know, it's always been an expressive situation for me, whether it was the pain that I was going through, or you know, battling addictions, or you know, going through past trauma and generational trauma and things like that I've gone through in my life. And it's really given me an outlet for all of that. And without it, I don't know where I would be. I must be honest when I say it. I really have no clue where I would be without, you know, having the ability to get this stuff out of my system. And I fear it would not be a very good place. But I will say that, you know, what this record did for me and the cleansing that took place, it was almost a shedding of skin in so many ways for me. The death of an old self, the rebirth of a new person, a new outlook on life and on my past and my present. And it really, you know, it just created a great situation. And I look back on it with such closure, and it just really, it was a healing process and a really deep look into my personal human experience, which was also very healing for me.
Oh, and that's so important to do, to be able to grow as a human being as well. I mean, I've also had a very dark, turbulent past for several different reasons, and, you know, just being able to shed that old skin and being able to refresh yourself, trying to be able to become a better person, someone that you can look into the mirror and be happy with the person that you are, or if you have those changes you want to make, you know what you have to do to make those changes. And, you know, anytime that a person's able to overcome that animosity and all that adversity that goes along with it, and they're able to become a better person on the other side, it's such a great rewarding thing to see that human beings are able to really push themselves when they have the opportunity to.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable how resilient human beings can be. I think that's really the main aspect of that point, is that it is just unbelievable how resilient we can be. I mean, the things that some people go through, and you see the horrible things that happen to people, and they're able to kind of bounce back. It's really unbelievable at times just how resilient a person can be and how resilient the human body can be.
And, you know, thinking about that as well, too, and being able to have an outlet like that for music, I mean, when you are playing all these different instruments, I mean, whether you're singing or you're drumming or you're playing guitar, like, when did you start to, like, really notice when you were making the changes that you needed to become a better person for yourself and those around you? Like, when did you start to notice that musically, that things were going in the right direction for you?
Well, it really all started with a self-help book. I mean, I was really trying to dive into as much literature as I could pick up to kind of fix the person that I was, or maybe give me a clue on how to fix myself or treat myself better, and kind of get out of this negative mind state that I had kind of just really spent the last 30 years of my life in. And I was reading a book, and it's honestly why I called the album The Wolf You Feed. I was reading a book, and in the book, it was a short story, and the story said basically this: you know, in life, there's a war going on inside of us all, and, you know, you can feed into the negative wolf, or you can feed into the positive wolf, and really, it all determines, you know, where your life goes. Which wolf will you feed, you know? And that is why the EP was called The Wolf You Feed, is because I was feeding into such a negative aspect, the negative wolf, so to speak, that, like, you know, that's where everything, every song, it comes from these, you know, tremendously negative experiences. And I just so desperately wanted to be rid of them that I just committed them to paper, and really just took the time to say to myself, you know, this is it. This is what this is going to be. This is going to be a huge release of these emotions. And if I don't get them out now, I may never get them out. So it was really a matter of life and death for me. You know, I could have kept going the way that I was going, and I would have definitely found myself in a much different world than I'm living in right now today. And I'm just I'm very thankful for the record for that. And it's very raw, and it's very pure at its core. And that's really what this record was for me. It was just a release. It really was. It was kind of burning down my old shadow self, and kind of awakening a bit of an enlightened version of myself.
And that's exactly why I feel like it's something that really did need to come out in 2020, and I'm so happy to see that it is coming out on Friday, because with the world that we're in right right now, there is so much negativity. I mean, once you step out your front door, you're just confronted with negativity everywhere. I mean, whether you're looking at your phone, you're looking at your computer, you're looking at billboards, you're looking at people down the street. There's so many terrible things that are going on in the world right now, and it's hard not to have that effect on you mentally, and especially if you're dealing with things that have happened in the past, be it trauma or anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts. I mean, there's addiction, there's so many different things that can happen with the mind that's already messing with you. And then when you see the whole world go into turmoil as well, that's not a good effect on you mentally. And the fact that you were able to take all of that and be able to say that you can become a better person, you want to become a better person, and you are able to have a happier life now, and getting all those purging thoughts on such a heavy album like this, both lyrically and musically, with The Wolf You Feed. I mean, it's really good self-help stuff, and the more that I do listen to the lyrics on here, the more that I can relate to it in my own experiences as well. And I can't thank you enough for being able to put something out like this that was so personal.
Well, I really appreciate that, and that's literally the only thing that I hope to achieve by being open and honest and personal in such a way is that if someone can relate to it, if it helps anyone, it was so worth it for me, because that experience is so dark and so troubling. And you know, at the beginning of COVID-19, my grandfather passed. He was one of the people in my life that was really a rock, and you know, his passing really just changed a lot of things for me in terms of perspective. And I was very heavy set at the time. I was about 380 pounds when my grandfather passed, and I weighed in this morning at 235 pounds. So
Oh,
I've
wow.
changed my life so drastically since March. And you know, it's just one of those things where I'm just so glad that, you know, to be in a position where I could release something and someone like you could tell me thank you. It is one of the coolest things in the world for me, because like I said, if it helps anybody, then it was such a great experience for me, because I know how much it helped me, and I know how much of myself I put into this record, and how open I was, and how dangerous that felt for me, and how unprotected I felt being as open as I was. And to have it be received in such a great way is it's such an incredible feeling. I can't even put it in words.
Oh, and that makes me so happy to hear that too, because especially when you deal with so many things that are going on mentally, there's so many people out there that really can't comprehend what happens in the human mind and why people act the way they do for various mental reasons, because they haven't gone through it themselves. Even if they know
Right.
people, they don't know how to comprehend something like that. And it really takes being able to go through something similar, or even the same kinds of things that happen, and you can have that relatability to it that really helps people out. And you know, the fact that you're still here, the fact I'm still here, the fact that there's still people out there that despite so many things that have been going wrong this year, that they're still here, that they can still trying, it still leaves that hope that things can get
Yes.
better on the other side.
Yeah, and I think that honestly, in a situation, in a world that we're living in right now, as you referenced, where everything is so negative and things are so horrible, you know, if you don't have hope, you really have nothing.
Oh, it's so very true. And yeah, again, you know, just thinking about that as well too. I mean, especially when I was growing up, and there were so many people that just did not understand how mental health worked, and they thought it was just all made up. And
Oh,
you know,
for
there's
sure.
so many there's so many things that go along with that. But when you find people that have gone through similar experiences, you can relate to that so much more, and you know that there's other people out there like that, like you, that are struggling, that are just trying to make it through the day. And you know, when you can find that positive change and really make something of yourself, to make yourself happy when you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed at night, I mean, it's so important. And you know, the fact that, like, for example, that you were able to lose so much weight over the last 7 months, I mean, that's absolutely incredible to see that. And as a hefty guy myself, that's really got me a lot of inspiration to do that myself.
Yeah, I mean, I just, it was one of those situations where, I feel a little bashful saying this. It's almost embarrassing, but it was like, I was really living in such a dark place where I didn't feel comfortable with actually maybe attempting a take on my own life. But in doing that, maybe I was just feeding myself and not caring about myself, or taking drugs, or drinking as much as possible and just gaining as much weight, not caring if my heart stopped. And maybe that was suicidal behavior in itself, and maybe that's kind of what the way I looked at it. And I saw what happened with my grandfather, and I saw how quickly, how much it hurt everybody, and how quickly his life changed because of dietary habits and bad decisions. And, it was just really time for a change. I have a daughter myself, and I just want to be here for her. I really do. And in doing that, I've changed so much of my negative outlook on life. And I've really, I've become more regimented. And that schedule, I think, has been great for somebody with the mental health issues that I've been blessed with. And, and maybe the bipolar disorder that is still undiagnosed, I think it's been great. The regimented scheduling, the dieting in terms of when to eat and when not to eat and when to exercise, and all of those things have just been great for my mental health overall. And I was never a believer in that. I always said, oh, no, I'm never going to go to the gym. My exercise is eating hamburgers. That was how I got down. But I will say it's been great for my mental health to make these changes. It really has been.
Oh, and it's so great to hear that too. I mean, obviously still wanting to be here for your daughter, and obviously being there for yourself too. I mean, that one thing I've especially learned with mental health, and it's a realization that I came to myself, like over the past 32 years of my life. I've tried committing suicide about 9 times now, and I've had so many different things that have been going on with my life. But I came to an epiphany earlier this year, especially around the time of COVID, that I don't want to die miserable. I want to be able to, when I go, I want to be able to look back and say that there were so many great memories, and I just didn't want it to be a life just full of hell and negativity. I want to be able to look back and say that I was able to do this, I was able to do that, and that really changed a lot of perspective for me. And, the fact that you do have something like your daughter to be able to live for, the music that you're playing for, the fact that you want to be able to be honest and open with your mental health so it can inspire people like myself and anyone that checks out this record. I mean, it's incredible to see that you can have those kind of revelations for yourself. And, even in the smallest bit, even through this conversation, through the record, through everything that happens going forward, just making those changes can really help yourself, those around you, and those that are interested in what you do, because it just takes one person to be able to spread that message.
Well, that is awesome. And I have to say, congratulations. For having that realization. I'm so happy for you, because you know what, I can so directly relate to how you feel. It's scary, you hear somebody say that, and it kind of like transports you back to these moments that you've had in your life that are just so eerily similar. And I too, I feel the same way. Something happens, right? It is almost like an aha moment or a split second thing where you just have what you referenced as an epiphany, where like things just, all of a sudden things just start to make sense, and you're not even sure maybe why, but you don't question it. You're just like, you know what, I don't want to die miserable, just kind of bathing in this endless sorrow, like swimming in a sea of regret. I don't, no one wants to die like that. And I'm so happy to hear that that's not what you want to do. And I'm so happy to hear that you've made that decision in your life, because I feel like nothing but positive things are coming for you if that's where your head is at.
Oh, I truly appreciate that. And, obviously the same goes for you too. I mean, with your physical health, your mental health, I mean, making those changes, because it can be so hard, because, already being a musician, the joke is that you are your own worst critic already when it comes to writing music and everything. And when you have mental health things that are going through you, like addiction, like depression, like bipolar, like anxiety, so many different things, the critic becomes even worse than you can imagine, because it doesn't just affect what you do musically, it affects all aspects of your life when you're already putting so much pressure and so much negativity on yourself. And yeah, again, just seeing you make that change, it's just really, really inspiring to me.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And I totally agree because everything, that voice inside of your head that tells you that you're not good enough, that voice can be a very loud voice. And getting that voice to calm down is, if somebody could figure out how to do that, they would 100% have more money than any other human being on the planet Earth, because there is an unlimited amount of money that someone would put towards calming that voice down. No one hates my songs more than I do, and no one thinks my songs aren't good more than I do. I mean, any criticism I've ever received about anything that I've ever done doesn't even scratch the surface of what the voice inside my head already said to me about what it is that I'm doing. So you know that. I mean, obviously you're basically just, encapsulating that. It's so interesting to talk to someone who can just so directly relate to that feeling, and it is very difficult to overcome that voice in your head that tells you that no matter what you do, it's never going to be good, and that's definitely there, and it's a difficult thing, and I think that's where a lot of the addiction comes from. I think people turn to drugs in order to kind of quiet that down. I mean, I don't think about how I'm a horrible person while I'm drunk, but when I wake up, I most certainly do. You know what I'm saying? And it's just it's a hard road once you start going down it. It's difficult to stop. It's very difficult to stop. But I'm very happy. I'm very happy that was your take home from the record. I mean, I couldn't be more thrilled to know that my negative experiences have affected someone positively. That just makes me feel amazing.
And that showcases the power of what music and art and so many different things around the world can have on a person, because there's a lot of people out there thinking that, if music has like negative sounds to it, or has a lot of animosity to it, a lot of anger to it, it just means that you're angry all the time and you want everyone to feel miserable around you, when in reality you're just purging those feelings out of you. And so many people can relate to that more than just like a lot of the positive music that's out there all the time, where you're just out partying every weekend and always getting to be with your best friends and all of that stuff. I mean, real life emotions are real, and when you're able to hear that in something you love, be it music, be it movies, be it TV, any kind of form of entertainment that you use to be able to escape the outside world, when it hits that real world at the same time and you're able to relate to those emotions, it really helps you get through.
I think that's super, super interesting and so consistent with what 2020's problems are. I think so many people are viewing the world, everyone is so negative. Everything is so negative. There's nothing wrong with being negative. Negative has a time and a place. And if you want to have a positive life, or you want to be a positive person, then eliminating negativity from your life is not how you're going to do it, because you're not living in a real reality. You're living in a false version of what reality is. And at some point, you're going to experience negative aspects, of life, because there's a balance. Just as much as you should be happy, you should also be sad. I mean, there's going to be things that make you upset, and to deny yourself that is to deny yourself the human experience. And I think that so much of what's been put out lately has been so positive centric that you're losing so much of the human experience in that, and embracing the negativity and maybe letting go of the negativity that's inside you in order to achieve being truly positive, and not just a false version of positive or a false self, where you're just kind of walking through it. Like, anybody can project confidence and say to you, I'm the greatest person ever, but not everybody actually feels that way. Anybody can tell you, yeah, I'm super, super happy, but we see it all the time where people are, generally speaking, they make everybody laugh and they make everybody happy, but then, they commit suicide and they're no longer with us. So they weren't happy at their core, and I think it just speaks to that. Positivity is a great thing, but with positivity, comes a certain level of negativity, and you have to overcome it, and to just shun it and act like it doesn't exist is probably the worst thing that you can do, because then you're just burying your feelings and you're not really addressing them.
It's so very true, and that's one of the things that I realized over the last couple of years was one of my biggest problems was I was afraid to be angry for so much of my life, because I always felt like things were my fault, that I deserved bad things to happen happen, and I would always isolate myself and overeat and just do all of these things that just self-loathe even more. But over the last couple years, especially this year, I've been realizing it more than ever that anger is a good thing, that you need to let all of the emotions out. And having that kind of anger is a part of being in life too. And it's that yin and yang of the universe where you
Without a
want to be able
doubt.
to have that positive and negative together. And when you're able to expulse that negativity out you, it purges you. It makes you reassess the situations that you're in, and hopefully you go forward making the right choices.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, you have to embrace when you're angry, you have to recognize that you're angry. And I think that if you're constantly obsessed with not being mad, or not being angry, not letting those emotions show, or not dealing with them, you're doing just that. You're not dealing with them. You're allowing them to compile inside of you, and then at some point, there's breaking points. And if you don't address these feelings, and you don't try to get rid of them, or at least understand them, then what are you creating? I mean, you're creating a horrible situation that's based on lies. I mean, no one is happy all the time, and I think that social media has really made it so that so many people think that the world is this great happy place, and there's nothing negative that happens. Every relationship is a fairy tale ending, and everyone's so happy, and everyone's got money, and they go on vacations, and they do all these things, and to an extent that's all true. But there are negative aspects, like to think that you never get into an argument with your spouse, or to think that even the richest person in the world doesn't feel alone or upset about things. It's just kind of a crazy concept to think about. And you have to understand that all those feelings are there, and you just got to kind of embrace them. I mean, I've really embraced my anger and my negativity on this record, and it created a really positive thing for me. So I think that there can be positivity that comes from negativity, just like you said, with the yin and yang effect.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, I can't say it enough. I love that you did address that. I mean, whether, it was a conscious effort that was being built up or just something that you felt like you needed to get out there. I mean, the fact that you did tackle all of this and you were able to purge those feelings on such a heavy record. And I'm excited to see where you're going to be going in the future when it comes to your musical endeavors. I mean, when you're able to release something that's this heavy on, a lyrical, emotional, and musical level, I mean, just being able to purge those feelings, I'm very excited to see where things are going to go next for you.
Well, I really, really appreciate that. I mean, I really can't express enough appreciation to know that not only did you enjoy the record, but you look forward to more. It makes me feel great. And I just, I'm very much excited about where we're headed in the future. We've already started writing songs, and conceptually, I already know what the next record's going to be called. And I think that you're going to see a lot of what you saw on the Wolfie feed, and I think you're going to see a continuation to the concept that you saw on the Wolfie feed. And I'm really looking forward to tackling some more of my personal anguish, and just doing what everybody else is doing, man, which is trying to become a better person with every second and every minute and every hour that passes in the day, and just trying to do my best to live in a world that really has overcome a lot of people. And I don't want to be one of those people. I want, just as you said, and just as much as you do, to die and know that I wasn't unhappy the entire time, and that I achieved some of the goals that I had set out to achieve, and that I was happy. That's really what I want, and it's really what I work towards every single day. And I'm looking very much forward to being able to express myself on upcoming records. And I like I said, I got about 2 or 3 songs in on the next record. I don't know if it'll be a full length or an EP yet. I haven't really discussed it. I'm also kind of throwing out an idea where I may do a single each month over the course of a year, and maybe try to do 12 singles, and keep myself as relevant and fresh as possible, and keep with the whole cleansing aspect of where I'm at right now. And I kind of think that that would be an interesting goal and an interesting thing to do. So I think I'm kind of leaning towards it, to be honest with you.
Oh, that sounds like an absolutely killer idea. I mean, it would keep the fans fresh and wanting to constantly hear new music when they have something to look forward to every month. I mean, it's going to constantly be in their minds and constantly thinking of Eye of the Destroyer all the time. I mean, if that's the direction you go in, I'm very excited to see where that goes. And if when you're basing things off of what you've done here with the Wolf You Feed coming out again on Friday, the fact that you've gone through all this, you're on the other side of that now, you're still working through things, and you want to be able to continue that cleanse through the next year, being able to get those things out there. I think that would be such a rewarding thing to be able to do that for the fans and for yourself personally as well. I mean, being able to stay that creative for a full year, constantly coming up with a song every month.
Yeah, I think it would really push me to be creative and to come up with as much good stuff and good ideas. And I really welcome that challenge. I really do. I want to progress as a songwriter and as a person. And I think that if I embark on something like that, it really will just work towards my progression. And that's ultimately, what I think we're all trying to do as human beings. I think we're just trying to get a little bit better every day than we were the day before, and be able to look at ourselves in the mirror and like what we see. And that's what I think 12 songs over the course of the next year, maybe starting in January, could do for me, and I'm excited about that.
Oh, and yeah, I'm excited if that's the direction that you go in. And I think that's an amazing note to end on, too. I mean, being able to have such a great record here with the Wolf You Feed coming out on Friday, and potentially everything that can come in 2021, hopefully with a better life for you, for me, for everyone that's listening to this, and for the world around. And again, thank you once again for being able to take the time to do this interview. I know it wasn't as music-centric as other interviews, but, when you can tackle that, when you can tackle mental health like that, and both of us can relate to that so much, I think that's such a great message to be able to get out there. And I think for anyone that is checking this out that might be struggling themselves in any kind of way, I absolutely recommend checking out this 18 minutes plus of the Wolf You Feed, and hopefully you can relate to it and know that better things can come.
Well, I really appreciate that, and I as much as I love discussing music, and I love obviously it's what we're here for, to discuss this record, but I'm very happy that this record created an open discussion about mental health and an open discussion about trying to make yourself better and work towards it, and dealing with maybe the generational trauma or any of the trauma that you've experienced, whether it was as a kid, as an adult, or anything, dealing with death, dealing with any of these things. All of these things are really, really difficult, and I think that especially as a man, as a boy in this world, you're not really taught to deal with mental health, and I'm very, very glad that this record opened up that discussion. And quite frankly, I just want to say, Josh, I hope that you continue on the path that it seems like you're on, and I think that you can overcome anything that that has happened to you in your life, and I think that you can most certainly be happy on your death day. And I hope you continue to work towards it, brother.
Oh, absolutely. And likewise as well, too. I mean, congratulations on being able to tackle those demons, being able to better yourself physically and mentally, and, be there for yourself, be there for your family, be there for your band, be there for everyone that enjoys what you do, because we're still on this earth for a reason, whether it's because our day is coming later or whatever the case is. But until then, we can work to become better human beings. And as long as we keep doing that, I think things can only get better. And, with that being with Eye of the Destroyer and where you're at right now, I think that's one hell of a great way to be able to do that.
Thank you so much, man. I really, really appreciate it. I'm so glad that you like the record. I hope to anyone listening that they check out the record. It comes out on Friday. Eye of the Destroyer, the Wolf You Feed. Check it out. Let us know what you think about it. Follow us on all the socials. And thank you so much for your time, brother.